Speaking of the Big 12, we are joined by Scott Satterfield. He's the head coach at Cincinnati. He joins us on 365 Sports. Coach, thanks for your time. What's it like now knowing you have a schedule, you're going to enter, you're going to be a part of it, your first year at Cincinnati and being part of the Big 12?
Well, it's very exciting. Obviously Cincinnati is the first year they're going to be playing in the Big 12, and, we're excited about that, starting with our first Big 12 opponent, Oklahoma. I think a team everybody certainly recognizes that name. So we're going to we got a lot of work to do between now and then, but we're excited about this opportunity.
For you leaving Louisville and going to Cincinnati, was the Big 12 the starting the new conference? How big of a draw was that? Not many coaches are going to get to do that through their career, bring a team into a new conference.
Yeah, it certainly was a factor with that. I think, just being here, the tradition that the Cincinnati football has had over the years, it's incredible what they've been able to accomplish, particularly in the last, 5 years, playing in the college football playoffs. And, we had 9 players drafted a couple of years ago. It's certainly a program that is certainly known and has been known. But to usher in a new conference like the Big 12 with a lot of changes going on in college football that we're seeing across the board, I think it's a great opportunity to be a part of that and to be on the front end of this move, and excited to be here in such a great town and a great city that loves their football.
How much, Coach, do you use this week with the Kelsey brothers who both played at Cincinnati? How much can you use that as part of the story of that great program?
Oh, yeah. You got to use it. Their story is incredible anyway. The way they came here. Jason was coming as a linebacker, as a walk-on, and now he's one of the best centers in the NFL, and certainly Travis, had some ups and downs when he came to Cincinnati as well. But to me, their story is incredible, particularly in today's era of college football, when you see, guys that they want to be starters when the day one they come into these programs in college, and if they're not waiting around to see if they're going to play, they're going to transfer. And I think what these guys were able to do to come here and develop and become great players, a testament to them and their work ethic and where they are right now. I think it's a great example of what we want, Cincinnati Bearcat football players to be about.
How do you feel about the transition of your roster when you take over as a new coach? Obviously there's, in college football is a big revolving door now, more than anybody probably ever thought it would be. But how do you feel about the transition of the roster and the way that you guys are set up to start out spring and start to implement your system?
Well, I think it's a little unknown right now. Of course, we've been recruiting. We're finally in a dead period where we don't go out. So this is really the first week of really getting around our guys. So we got to go through spring practice and see where we're at with everything within our positions. But we've tried to add it within the portal, and we've added roughly 15 players that are coming in new that have played college football that come in and try to help this team and this nucleus that's been here. A team that's won a lot of football games over the last 2 to 3 years. So, I think there's still a lot that remains to be seen to see where we're at. Particularly, you got to have a quarterback. You got to have some guys that on the perimeter that can catch the ball and get some big plays. We know in the Big 12 there's a lot of points that have been scored within the league, and so therefore you better be good on defense. And I think we got a great nucleus of guys on defense that can compete at this level. So really just excited to get on in spring practice and kind of see where we are and see what how can we improve between now and August.
Does the transfer portal and the way it's set up in this year, of course, there's a gap between the first part of it and then May 1st. Does the transfer portal help a new coach, an incoming staff? Does it help or not? Does it make a difference or not in the transition?
It's kind of a double-edged sword, really. Because if a coach is at a program and ends up leaving, you're going to have some players that are going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think change is scary to a lot of people, right? And the unknown is scary. So people are like, listen, if it's going to be a change, then I'm going to go try to go see if I can play somewhere else because I have no idea who they're going to hire in here. And so that part of it is not good. But on the flip side of that, once you get there, we kind of see where the holes need to be filled, and you're able to do that through the portal. I think before – you were not able to do that, and you got, signing dates, coming and going, and you're just behind. And so it does help on that regard. So, but I do see it as a double-edged sword. You're going to lose some, and you're going to gain some. And then I think at the end of the day, whoever you have, we got to coach them up to be great football players.
I know this is probably going to be a generality that doesn't apply to everybody, but do you feel that, especially in the first couple of years, that portal players are easier to bring along than your freshmen, or is it kind of the same thing?
Well, I mean, I do think a player that has played college football and has that experience and have gone through some things in order for that to happen, they are more ready to play. And so, if you do bring in some players that have played, then they're going to have a more opportunity to get on the field and help you and help you go out and compete at a high level. I think, you may get some players out of high school that can come and help you and that'll end up being good players for you. But more times than not, those players are going to need some time to develop, whether it be a few months or a year, or a couple of years. So I do think the beauty of getting a player out of the portal that has played college football, you feel like you know what they can do. You've seen them compete at that level. You've seen that film, and they can come in and help you as compared to a high school player where sometimes, you can get fooled. You think they're ready to go, but maybe they're not. And a lot goes into that, I think, more mentally than anything.
Tom Manning, your offensive coordinator, has been a part of the Big 12 before with Oklahoma and also Iowa State. Can you pick his brain a little bit about what he's experienced before?
Absolutely. I mean, he was one of the main reasons I was interested in hiring Tom. I worked with Tom in 2009 at University of Toledo. It was a long time ago and kept up with him for over all these years. And, he was at Iowa State where they were putting out a lot of great players. And, of course, Brock Purdy's a player that everybody heard about this season in the NFL with the 49ers. And he was a part of that team, and calling plays for Brock. So he's got a great idea of what it takes in that Big 12, how to win it, how to score points. And, we offensively and defensively, we've been asking him a lot of questions about the conference and certainly about the personnel and the players that are in that conference. And I know there's a lot of talented players that are playing in that league week in and week out, but I think he's going to help us as we move and maneuver through this Big 12 schedule.
You now are in a state that has been, and I know they're a monster place at Ohio State, the history and tradition, but they've had that state by themselves among Power 5 programs. Now Cincinnati's a part of a Power 5. How much does that help you in your recruiting story?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to help us. I think, Ohio State's been the only Power 5 team around in this state, and of course, a lot of teams try to come in the state and get these players. There's some great high school football players within the state of Ohio and outstanding coaches here. We just got back from the Ohio State Coaches Association and tremendous coaches. And so, for us to be able to say you don't have to leave the state now to play at the Power 5 level. Maybe Ohio State doesn't want you and they're not recruiting you, but you're going to have a great opportunity, a great chance right here in the city of Cincinnati to come play for the Bearcats. So I think it's certainly helping us. We've had some junior days. We've had some, talking to these, recruits in 2024 class and 2025 class. And, it certainly opens up their eyes to know I can compete at the highest level and I don't have to go, 3, 4, 5 hours away. I can go play right there at Cincinnati.
How big of a draw is it's a big city. I mean, that's different than, it's not a normal college town. It's an NFL city. There's lots of commerce and things. How much of a draw has that been?
Oh, it's great. I think, going around and recruiting it, particularly within this state, very positive feedback, about the city of Cincinnati. Everybody that I've talked to love it. They say, oh, you're going to love it. You're just moving there, but you're going to love it. There's a lot to do there. Outside of the college, there's so many things. You mentioned it. We have the Bengals, which has been a great story there right here. You have the Reds. I mean, there's so many things that are going on in the city. There's a lot of pride and a lot of passion with the people here. You're going to get a great fan base that's going to watch you play. And we're at a school with, with 35,000 students. So, I mean, it's a vibrant campus. A lot of things happening here. A lot of people moving around. A lot of energy, and I think people want to be a part of that. So, yeah, we're certainly going to sell the city. We're going to sell our schools and sell the opportunity to play in the Big 12 in one of the most iconic stadiums in the country, right here on campus, one of the oldest stadiums out here, so at Nippert. So it's going to be it's an awesome sell for us, and these players are certainly taking notice.
Scott Satterfield, again, the head coach at Cincinnati, with us on 365 Sports. You open up, you mentioned Big 12 play with Oklahoma. In the history of the college football playoff, we know Alabama's been a part of it, and others have had their runs with it, including lately Georgia. Oklahoma had their toes in that water as well, and just 2 years ago, Cincinnati was there. Is that kind of ironic that you're playing each other the first year of the Big 12?
Yeah, it probably is, I guess. certainly, both teams have had their share of great success, and the opportunity to play in the Final Four in football is incredible. What a great honor, and it's something that we're striving to continue to be able to do. And I think now, with Cincinnati competing at this Big 12 and playing these teams that we're going to be playing week in and week out, certainly going to give you a chance to go out there and play great against these teams, each and every week. And of course, playing Oklahoma, a brand that everybody is familiar with and they know. I think this is one of the benefits. Obviously, if you're going to this conference, to be able to play some of these type teams and bring them into our stadium and sell a bunch of tickets and pack it out. I mean, it's going to be awesome to be able to see that.
How much does, and Cincinnati has been building and doing new things, of course, with athletics, but how much does the new revenue stream, much higher revenue stream, help you and Cincinnati do even more?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly, because it takes money to run these programs. We all know that. And, the teams that have more of that money are able to do more things. And, it's like what we're doing right now. We're breaking ground next week on a brand new indoor and football complex that is going to house our football team, meeting rooms, weight rooms, cafeteria, everything that we need to be able to compete in the Big 12 and to be successful in that. And, it's a $120 million facility. And if you're not going into the Big 12, you're not going to be able to build a facility like this. And so, we're certainly going to take advantage of that. And then also, as we talk about bringing these teams in here, you're going to sell more tickets. I mean, you're going to pack it out, each and every week, with merchandising and everything else that in order to create revenue. So I think being a part of this conference is certainly going to help that and continue this football footprint and continue to help it grow. You wouldn't be able to do that had you not been able to make that jump into this conference.
Two of your opponents, sorry, Paul, go ahead. Go ahead. Two of your opponents this year are Pitt and UCF. And you at Louisville played them last year. How much does that, you know some of these teams. It's not like it's your first rodeo, but you know them pretty well because you just saw them.
Yeah, exactly. And, and we know they're got two really good football teams. I mean, Pitt won the ACC, 2 years ago. We brought them in our place last year and beat them. We know how good they are. They're solid year in and year out, play great defense, Coach Narduzzi. And then, Coach Malzahn down at Central Florida, they did a great job. We know you got great team speed there. They're very aggressive on offense and defense. And, they've been a team that's been in the national spotlight as well, won a ton of games, in the previous conference. And so, we're making that transition now together in the Big 12, and then we know what kind of opponents they're going to be. So it does help, I think, for us to know. We know some of their personnel. We know some of the things that they've done, and we had success against them. So, you're certainly going to use that experience as we head this year playing these guys. We're
talking to Scott Satterfield, head football coach at Cincinnati, with us on 365 Sports.
As a college football coach, obviously that means that you at your heart are a college football fan and you love the game and you love everything about it, but it's different for everybody, especially when you're in the business. Do you get excited for road games, especially in places you haven't been before, or do you have to be maybe too much involved in the moment to kind of to get into all that?
No, I get excited. I think, as I look down at the schedule, I mean, having to go to BYU, I think that's going to be pretty cool. I've heard great things about that place. Going to Oklahoma State, seen it on TV, and I know there's a passionate fan base out there as well. And of course, West Virginia, I've seen them as well. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm a fan of college football. I like to go do it. And once you're in the game, we're there to play. We're there to win. So I go in there and check it out for a little bit, and then we're focusing on what we have to do. But I think, like, as I'm sitting here today, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. We get to go check out some places. And when I first started playing football when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I had no idea that I would be able to travel the country and see the whole United States with the game of football. So to me, it's a blessing and it's exciting to be able to do that. And so I certainly don't take it for granted. I take it in and enjoy the whole process.
All right, so we have to ask you this question. When at Appalachian State in 2007, where were you when they blocked the field goal to secure the win against Michigan?
I was in the press box. So that day I was calling the plays on offense. And, I remember at halftime we were winning by, I think, 2 scores, so 14 points. And at halftime, I didn't even go down. I was like, just tell the boys keep it up. They're playing good. I went and got a Coke and a popcorn and kind of relaxed a little bit and get ready for that third quarter. But when that kick was blocked, I was probably standing on top of the table in the press box cheering.
Who was it we were talking? We had an interview, Scott, with he was at Auburn on the kick six, remember? And he was worried he was going to trip the guy because he was running down the sideline with him. And that was a dramatic play.
Christian Robin, was it Christian Robin? Maybe.
I don't know.
But so in that moment, was it almost like you were throwing a no-hitter, or the offense is throwing a no-hitter, so you didn't want to go down and talk to him and mess it up? Is that why you were like –
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of that. Well, they told us before the game, listen, it's going to take you a long time to get down at halftime. You got to go down the elevator. You got to get in a police car. You got to ride around and go in and talk to you guys. We were playing so good. I was like, I don't want to go screw anything up. Just tell the boys to keep it up, So I just I wasn't going to be there long anyway. So I just relaxed and stayed up there and had a Coke and a popcorn. So, and then we hung on there at the end of the fourth quarter and ended up winning that thing. So it was amazing.
All right, Scott, you are, and again, about to join this conference. What is the buzz on campus? And you've been there just for a few weeks, but I know last fall it was huge, or 2 years ago it was huge when everything changed with Texas, OU, SEC, and then the four new incoming teams, including Cincinnati. We've had Mr. Cunningham on, the AD, and what the buzz is like. Can you feel a little bit of that buzz?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just think that, everybody's just real anxious and excited to be able to host, some of these teams and these teams that they've seen, play at the highest level of college football, to play on, TV week in and week out. And for us now here at Cincinnati to be able to play in that kind of a game, to be able to play these teams week in and week out, it's a big buzz. And I think it's something that this school has, trying to get to that point, to where you're playing Power 5 football. They've had such great tradition, and now we're finally here. And, and now we got to continue that tradition and continue create some great memories and new memories in this Big 12 conference. So, yeah, everybody's excited about it, and they're looking forward to it.
Have you ever attended a Super Bowl?
I have not. That's a tough ticket to get. And you know what? I like sitting in my living room and, having some drinks and some food and cheering it on from the living room. At some point, though, that'd be a bucket list item to be able to go check out a Super Bowl.
Scott, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck moving forward. It's great to have you on the show. We appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, and, looking forward to talking to you soon.
Scott Satterfield, head coach at Cincinnati, last 3 years at Louisville, long time as an assistant coach at Appalachian.